getting back to the cobra, and I don't think most reptile keepers think this way, although I would say most people who listen to this show probably think similar to this, and that's having an overall goal with your hobby and what direction do you want your reptile room to go, for example. And I think that might be just too much for some people to think about, but many people do think this because, like, I don't consider my animals pets, for example, and technically they probably are pets, but as far as I'm concerned, it's more of a project that I'm working on. So my question to myself is, what are my goals here? Are my goals to eventually start breeding it? And for me, it's no. But for me, I really want to have a few species from different locations and really set, like, Stefan from the Terrarium channel. I just love his setup. He has just so many interesting, unique animals and different, it's not like you're walking into a reptile room and you're just seeing one species. You're just seeing several different species. And he has way more animals than I would ever want. But for me personally, that's kind of what I see myself in the future. And right now I'm kind of working from my past because I have these animals that I picked up and I love all my animals, but I would love to have, several different species and that's kind of the way I think about it. So over the years, I'm directing myself towards that, having really cool, nice, naturalistic enclosures that someone can walk in and feel like you're at the reptile section of a zoo, for example. And obviously you have some goals as well.
Yes, I do think it's important, and that just goes back to what we were speaking about in the beginning, saying how important it is to continually progress and get better with each step we take. So one of the goals I wanted to do was set up this room in a way that it's a lot cooler. The goal is to kind of get between 23 and 25 degrees Celsius as a reptile room, because some of the species that I am going to be working with in the future will probably die if the heat rises anything like too much above that. And obviously Africa's hot, so I do need to deal with that. And one of the biggest things in captivity is we got to have a temperature gradient in our enclosures. And how we do that is the room has to be pretty cool and climate controlled. And then you raise the temperature in the enclosure. So there's different little heat pockets and different elevation levels where they can get hotter if they go higher, closer to the halogen basking spot or whatever, and dig and burrow down if they want to get cooler. So I want to set that up before I get those animals, even though this cobra would have been fine without me setting that up. Let's set it up, get that goal sorted before I get onto this animal.
Yeah, totally. And I think someone who's not in the reptile hobby at all would think like, what, you have goals, like you have career goals, you have family goals, and what, now you have like a reptile room goal. But it is important, especially for people who A, want to care for their animals ethically, and B, want to be stewards of the hobby. So when people are, random people come to your home, you want to be able to show off the hobby in this really, unique and positive way. And I think that's where a lot of the people who are listening have a similar mindset. So I would just challenge the listeners, think about what you want your room to look like in 10 years. And it shouldn't be just racks and racks of ball pythons. I mean, I assume for most of us, that's not going to be the case. You want it to have more of an impact and a punch than that.
Yes, make a bit of a change in the world also, not just focus on the things that you love and try and better yourself in the way. Like, now that I have these snakes in awesome little enclosures, I feel like these enclosures are way too small for them. I'm like, let's just go bigger. Let's give them more, because you see how much they thrive, how much my ball python actually spends up in the branches and climbs. It's rewarding to just watch that. Yes,
exactly. And that's probably one of the biggest pitfalls in the hobby to watch for is, and it kind of goes in line with exactly what you're saying, is starting projects before you're finished your other projects. So we all want more animals. Like, we're constantly wanting another animal. I'm always looking on Facebook or, the local classifieds, what animals are coming up for sale, because I always think, I could fit another one in here. But I feel like it would not be doing my animals justice that I have right now if I wasn't finishing those projects, like getting those enclosures and setups up to snuff where I want them. Then yes, then I can go add another enclosure. But until then, really focus on what projects you have on the go.
Yes, otherwise realistically you're putting too much pressure and too much stuff on yourself, whether that be financially, because you can't afford to buy this animal and set up your other animals correctly, or whatever the case may be. Just stick with what you have for now, and try and get everything to the best you possibly can before you go at getting something new. Obviously, there are exceptions to the so-called rule or whatever, but in my case, that's why I decided last minute, no, Bryce, rather wait. Yes, you may never get a chance to pick up the snake again, but then again, I do know a friend of mine bought a pair of them, and within the next 5-6 years he will have babies.